Welcome back to the Mastermind. In this episode, Zacch and Jason break down the 5 steps to learning new skills as quickly as possible. Enjoy!
Welcome back to the Mastermind. This episode is How to Learn Anything, a masterclass on how to learn the skills you need to get the results you want in the least amount of time. I'm Jason.
I'm Zacch, and step 1 of this masterclass is to understand that you're always lacking in something. There is always a key skill or an area in which you could develop yourself further. There is always something that you're lacking in. There's always something that you need to grow in, that you can learn.
Because if you did have it, then you'd also have your achievement.
Yeah, you would have the things that you want. You would have the goals that you've set out to achieve if you had all the skills. And I certainly hope that you have not yet achieved all of your goals in your life, because you need to always have goals. You need to always have goals that are bigger than yourself, that you're always striving after, because if not, then you're not learning.
Because the human mind always wants to be solving a problem.
Yeah, it does. You're absolutely right. And so, again, just understand that you're always lacking in something. Always find an area where you could improve. Always look back on yourself and think if you truly did that to the best of your ability, if that is truly the best you can get in that area. For me, an example would be discipline. If I look back on the habits that I've had for the past month, let's just say, if I look back on how many times I completed my habits and what my habits were, what my tendencies were, and what I really did with my time, would I really genuinely think that that's the best I could get? Absolutely not.
And part of that is having full transparency with yourself, being completely honest.
Yeah.
Because if you're not, the only person you're lying to is yourself.
Yeah, you're only holding yourself back. And you're probably actually going to hurt other people along the way because you're not being true to yourself. You're not being honest with yourself. And so you are then not honest with other people. Complacency would be to think that you are fine in certain areas. Complacency would be that you don't believe you can improve any further in anything.
Or maybe you do believe that there can be improvement, but you've just accepted where you are.
Yeah, that
as being
could
good
very well be
enough.
the case as well. Yeah, and I've seen that in myself before as well, that I could see an area where I needed to improve, but it was big, it was hairy and audacious, and I almost didn't believe that I could achieve it. It just seemed like such a big thing that I couldn't quite go after, because I knew that if I went after it, I would be facing a big giant, and I'd be staring at the top of this mountain as I'm at the bottom of it and wonder to myself how the heck I'm going to get up there. But I think it's really important to always be chasing those things, because if you don't, then you'll never surprise yourself. And how miserable of a life is that?
You have to really want it, and not just the achievement, because too often people ask themselves, or other people ask, what do you want out of life?
Right.
And often you'll get a generic answer. I want to start a business. I want to have a nice family with a house and a nice car. But not often enough do people ask themselves, what pain am I willing to suffer for?
Yeah, what are you suffering for? Quo animo. For what intention? Why are you doing what you're doing?
With every achievement comes new problems. So you solve the problem of buying a house. But now your new problem is maintaining that house, keeping it clean, paying for any maintenance costs.
I think that's a good reminder that you've already achieved goals that you said would make you happy. Think about yourself a year ago, 5 years ago. There are probably things that you said back then. You probably told yourself, "Oh, dude, once I have this, that I'll have it made. That I will never have to want for anything ever again. Once I have this job, or I have this car, or I have this house."
We always want more.
Right. I think that that's dangerous, because what you want is just the material possession and not who you become along the way. But who you become along the way is how you get the stuff. But it's not about the stuff.
Well, the problem is that the human mind always wants more. We always want a nicer car, a nice house, but you have to want the problems, because if you keep your brain in a perpetual state of solving problems and wanting to solve those problems, then you get the satisfaction of solving those problems. You will get the satisfaction of solving those problems, as well as satisfy the want for more.
It's not about just wanting the end result. As he's talking about, it's wanting the problems that come with it, wanting the difficulty, wanting the failure that comes with it, and quite frankly, being comfortable with not liking it along the way. It's gonna suck. Anything that you achieve greatness in, it's gonna suck along the way in a lot of spots. And you just gotta be okay with that because it's gonna suck. And then it's gonna suck some more. And eventually it might stop sucking a little bit because then you'll get really good at the thing. Generally speaking, once you start learning something new, you really enjoy it. It's something new and it's enjoyable because you kind of suck, but you don't really have any grasp of what the upper echelon of that skill or area in life is. But then you learn how good you could be, and then you put yourself into perspective with how bad you actually are. And then it sucks because it takes a lot of work to get to where you want to be, which is really, really good at the thing. And so it sucks for a long time until you get out of that stage. But eventually it is going to stop sucking quite as much because you're going to get really, really good at it. And so I think that something to keep in mind with learning anything new is that you have to want learning it. You have to want the process of it.
For example, let's say you want to be a professional guitarist. You're like, oh, okay, that looks cool. You can imagine yourself sitting on top of a stage with a crowd cheering at you. But what you don't understand, or what you might not understand, is the process it took to get to that point. And that's where a lot of people, including myself, like I play guitar casually now because I just didn't want it bad enough. You have to really understand the process because it takes hours and hours of just repeating and repeating and repeating like the same chords, the same songs over and over and over until you perfect it.
Right. Yeah, you have to want it more than anybody else is willing to want it, because if you want it, then you'll do it. And if you'll do it, then you can do it better than anybody else. And if you'll do it better than anybody else, you'll get better than everybody else is. I think you have to want it more than anybody else, because if you want it and you truly want it more than anybody else, you'll probably be willing to get better at it than anybody else. And if you're willing to get better at it than anybody else, you'll probably be better at it than everybody else. If you're just willing to be better at it, if you're willing to do more of it than anybody else, if you're willing to perform when there's one slow clap in the audience and it's yourself.
Which, being willing, I think, leads into willing to receive feedback. So there are two types of feedback loops. You have positive feedback loops and negative feedback loops. In a positive feedback loop, you do something, you get a good result, so you do that thing again, and it just repeats that way. In a negative feedback loop, you do something, you fail, and then you adjust, and then you do it again, and then you fail and adjust and do it again. Part of why a negative feedback loop is so much more productive than a positive feedback loop is because it comes from the understanding of knowing that you're always going to be lacking something. You're never going to completely understand it. You're just going to be slightly less oblivious. Honestly, the best way to gauge where you are in the particular skill that you're trying to learn is getting help from an expert. An expert has already made the mistakes that you're currently making, and he knows how to fix those mistakes.
Yeah, they already know what the mistakes were that they blundered with, what the solution was, because they obviously got through them if they're an expert in the field. And an expert doesn't have to be a hired paid professional, though it can be. This can just be somebody who faced the same problem you did. So in that way, that makes them the expert in the field. Why on earth would you blunder through what they did if you can just learn from what they did? Although it is very useful to learn from your own blunders, on average, I would say that it is pretty handy if you can just step on and ride on the shoulders of giants who have already gone through the bushes. They've already swam through the muggy water, and so you don't have to get wet and you don't have to get scraped up by the bushes.
Yeah, experts are basically just a roadmap.
Which is what Azora is, to be the giant with the shoulder that the next generations can ride on, because we can create a community of people that are adding to our database of knowledge, essentially. And so instead of the next guy starting a business having to blunder through the same traps that we did and our community did, they can just learn from our community, and they can be like, okay, well, hey guys, what did you do here? I'm struggling with this. How can I get through it? And they can just look at all of our documents.
So tracking metrics is extremely valuable because it gives you tangible evidence of where you're at, and you can gauge how you're doing.
It gives you numbers on how you're doing, and numbers don't lie. It's black and white. There's no, oh yeah, great job, guy. You did great. Even though you're terrible, and let's say, for example, you're playing the guitar and it sucked. Well,
But your mom is like,
yeah,
oh my gosh, that sounded so good.
yeah. When in all actuality, yeah, you sucked. And you need something there to tell you that you sucked. For our team meetings, we all just give the meeting a score. We track how on topic we were. So we're only looking at the valuable team meeting time, and we're looking at that compared to the time that we actually spent meeting together. And so if we only had 30 minutes of real valuable time and we were together for an hour, well, then we only have a 50% score. And so we can probably get better by another 50%. Step 4, to just fail. Just be willing to fail. Want failure, as we talked about before.
The key to success is failure. You have to fail and reflect. You have to be willing to fail. You can't be afraid of failure, because without failure, you can't know.
You have no clue where you're at.
Yeah, you can't get those metrics. You can't get those numbers without failing.
That's what we were talking about with wanting it, that you just have to want it so bad that you are willing to fail and smile through it. Mike Tyson said that discipline is doing what you hate, but doing it like you love it. I don't think it's very fun to fail, but I do it as though it's the most fun, exhilarating, grand experience I could possibly have, because I know that on the other side of failure is success. If I fail through something and it sucks and I'm in misery and it's painful because I'm failing and I suck at something, but I don't keep at it, I just give up, then what did I fail for? What did I just suffer for? I just suffered for no reason. The only option is to succeed in spite of the failure, in spite of the suffering, because then at least you suffered for something. Step 5 to the masterclass is to outwork everyone. Be willing to do so much of it that it is unreasonable that you would not succeed. And I got that from Alex Hormozy. Just do more. Do so much that the only logical outcome is that you are really good at it, and hopefully you're willing to just be the best at it.
That combines everything. You can do a lot of one thing, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to succeed.
Right.
If you just keep on doing the wrong thing over and over and over and over again, you have to take all the principles and you have to understand them.
Use these principles, use these 5 steps to attack them. If you want to, for example, we just got done earlier today meeting about when we're approaching prospects, whether business, sponsors, or anything else, we decided that we need to have different approaches, and we're going to log those approaches. We're going to have different scripts for them, different ways that we go about meeting with the people and approaching them and talking with them. That way we can test. We can see, well, what is the most effective method? And then we just plan to do that so much that we find out which is the most effective of the, let's say, 4 methods that we have.
And once you've repeated it all those times, once you gained all that experience, keep doing it.
Just keep doing it.
Just keep doing it. It's all about consistency. And to wrap up this 5-step masterclass, to wrap up the 5 steps to learn anything, number 1, you have to understand that you're always lacking something and there's always room for growth. Number 2, you have to want it. You have to want the achievement, but you also have to want the problems and the pain that come with that achievement. Number 3, you have to be willing to receive feedback, whether it be positive or negative. Negative is more effective in teaching you, which leads into point number 4, which is that the key to success is failure. You have to be willing to fail, and you can't be afraid of failure. And number 5, do it so much that it's unreasonable to fail, and then keep going.
Well, we hope you enjoyed this masterclass on learning the skills you need to get what you want in the least amount of time. Tune in next week to learn more.